Sonic and Mario, a rivalry for the ages, until Sonic gave up and just started releasing games on Mario's console. Ever since the 90s, these two have been the two big boys in the platformer genre, with one series having quality title after quality title, and the other having tons of incredible entries, along with a few funnies here and there as well. I'm not going to sit here and say that Sonic just sucked after the classic and adventure games. In my opinion, most mainline Sonic games are good, it's just that the bad ones really stand out. But one thing you can't take away from the Sonic games is their personality. Even some of the worst games in the entire series have really fun and distinct level ideas, and the music that goes along with them is pretty much always incredible. Honestly, sometimes it feels like the worse the Sonic game is, the better the soundtrack's going to be. But there's one Sonic game that defies pretty much everything I just said and offers one of the most bland Sonic experiences and just feels like it takes a lot of ideas from an unnamed series that I might have mentioned earlier. The soundtrack is still good though. So today I'm going to be taking a look at Sonic Lost World, the Sonic game that just really wanted to be Mario. So this game is sort of a black sheep of the franchise. Most Sonic games adhere to one of three types of gameplay. You have the classic side-scroller games, the 3D adventure games, and the boost games. One thing that is common between all of these styles is that in some way, shape, or form, speed is the main focus. In the classic and adventure games, it's all about building up to that speed, while in the boost games, it's all about being able to quickly react to what's coming, since you will be moving much faster a lot of the time. Sonic Lost World, on the other hand, is much less focused on any of those things, and is more like your traditional 3D platformer. There's a lot more focus put on slower platforming, which isn't inherently a bad thing, but it's just not what you would really expect from a Sonic game. The weirdest thing here is just the fact that Sonic has a run button, and when it's not pressed, he moves real slow. You do have a spin dash, which does speed things up considerably though, which is appreciated. In all honesty, the idea of a slower Sonic game, despite that sort of being against what the character is all about, really doesn't bother me that much. To me, as long as it's a competently designed game that's fun, then they can do whatever they want. Now the question here is, did they make a competently designed game? This game is really hard for me because occasionally I'll see something cool, something I want to see more of, but then they hardly do anything with it or don't really flesh it out enough and proceed to return to very basic and sometimes maybe kinda fun level design. Wall running is something that is right there on the box art, it fits the character and his abilities super well, and pulling it off in the game can be incredibly satisfying when it works. But the issue is that the game never really encourages you to use this mechanic. In fact, unless you're going for side collectibles, you don't have to. To me, this just screams that they weren't confident enough in the idea to fully implement it into the game, which I kind of understand since it's hard to pull off because the game never explains it all that well to you, and even if you do figure it out, it's still finicky. This really sucks because I love this idea and want to see it implemented in a new game somehow, but instead it was just wasted here where it was left unfinished and hardly used. Then there are these rail grinding levels, which take the more automated rails from the newer games and actually uses them in a challenging and engaging way, basically turning them into Donkey Kong minecart levels. I loved these levels, but there were only two, and once again, there is nothing like it in the series after this. This just sort of happens all throughout the game, where an idea is introduced, used maybe once or twice, then never brought up again. But what about the ideas that are present throughout the entire game? Well, you have the wisps from Sonic Colors, and the gravity mechanic ripped straight from Mario Galaxy. In Sonic Colors, the wisps are, for the most part, fun little power-ups that change up how you play through a level. In this game, they are pretty much all bad and not fun to use. I'll give the game this, the drill is still fun, but I do feel like that's sort of a hard thing to mess up. All of the other wisps just feel infinitely worse than the normal gameplay, making me disappointed whenever I see that I might need to use one. The music one in particular is the worst because I used it quite a few times and I still have no clue how it works. Then going back to the gravity stuff, I mean, this is genuinely one of the worst cases of copied homework in this entire series. Sonic Lost World was a Wii U exclusive there for a while though, so I guess Nintendo signed off on it. It's really funny to me when they want to design the game like Mario Galaxy, but then remember that Sonic's whole thing is running, and there isn't enough room to do that on a small little sphere, so they just make these really weird looking noodles of terrain. The blatant copying of Mario Galaxy's main gimmick, on top of the bland level themes that are literally just ripped straight from the new Super Mario Bros. Games, is to me what makes this game feel like it's just trying way too hard to be like Mario, without really understanding why the Mario games work so well. Mario games are fun because they are well-designed platformers, where a lot of time and effort is put into making sure the movement and mechanics of the game all feel good. In Sonic Lost World, though, they just sort of threw a ton of ideas at the wall, hoping some would stick, even though they didn't really flesh out any of them. Then just slapped on a coat of paint that was this weird sort of hybrid between the classic Sonic games and New Super Mario Bros., and called it a day. Even the new villains of the game, the Deadly Six, have some really boring designs, with the main guy literally just being fake Bowser. He even has a boss fight where he literally does the Bowser thing and gets all big while shooting fireballs at you. Despite this though, these characters are still consistently showing up in mainline games and spin-offs. Awesome. Can't wait to play as Zaz. The story in this game is also just very nothing. It's not really a big deal, since like Mario, the story doesn't matter in this game. But then that just begs the question of why there are so many cutscenes. I don't care if a game doesn't have a story, but just don't act like you do if you don't, or at least make it entertaining. In all reality, this game is not terrible, but it's also just not particularly good or interesting. Which in turn kind of makes it interesting, since I find pretty much every game in the Sonic series to be interesting in some way except for this one. And that makes it an outlier compared to the rest of the series, which is interesting to me. This is one of the most interesting games in the Sonic series, but we're not quite done yet because this game actually got some post-launch DLC, and some of this DLC was actually crossovers with Nintendo series since this game was a Wii U exclusive. Now I am playing this game on PC, so you're probably wondering how I played these. To be completely honest, these are the best part of the game. Partly because these are cool crossovers, and partly because I think these are well-designed levels. There is also one based on Knights, which isn't a Nintendo thing, but it's still a cool crossover, and the level sort of acts as a mini boss rush. Then we have the Yoshi's Island level, which you can tell is sort of based on Woolly World, but Woolly World still had a minute before it came out, so it only kind of is. I gotta say, after spending a lot of this video saying that this game was just trying to be Mario, it kind of just feels right to see Mario enemies in the game. This level is designed to be more like a traditional Yoshi's Island level, except there are a few Sonic-y elements like a loop. And with how Sonic controls in this game, this type of level design feels very natural. Having this stage designed around searching for collectibles like you would in a Yoshi game fits Sonic's slower movement pretty well. Then you go into the Zelda level, which opens with this small free roam area, encouraging you to explore around and look for secrets and collectibles like the heart containers. Just like the Yoshi's Island level, you're encouraged to be slower and more methodical, which when Sonic's moveset is trying to be slower and more movement focused, this works well. Then the level goes into a pretty typical Sonic Lost World cave level, but I do kind of like those ones, so it works fine here. These levels kind of helped me realize what I would like this game to be. You could have these more exploration-focused levels, with the 3D ones being more open like the Zelda one, and the 2D ones being structured like the Yoshi level, with you being encouraged to go off the main path to look for extras. Then you can place some more speed-focused sections in there to bring the focus back to the fact that this is a Sonic game, and we're going to throw in the rail levels as well since I like those. As I said earlier, I saw a ton of things in this game that I liked, but they just didn't harp on any of the things I found most interesting, and instead just made a bland, mediocre 3D platformer that can't decide what it really wants to be. If you like this video, like it. Subscribe it as well if you want to see my new stuff when it comes out, or just check out my numerous other videos I've made. And if you hated this video, tell me about it in the comments. This kind of engagement and stuff really does help out a lot, so it's very appreciated. Also, I wanted to mention that for some reason, a few years back, I decided to get all of the red rings in this game, which allows you to play as Super Sonic. It was not worth it. I don't know why I did it. I deleted that save to get footage for this video as well. I'm not sad about that.